Howdy, Ags. Welcome to Aggie Growth Hacks, the podcast sponsored by the Angry Elephant Restaurant and Bar. And here, we're dedicated to helping entrepreneurs improve their business, connect with other Aggie entrepreneurs, and support one another. I'm your host, Greg Martin, Fighting Texas Aggie class of 2001.
And I'm your co-host, Chris Hunter, Fighting Texas Aggie class of 1998. Whoop!
Well, we got a little story for you, Ags. Greg Jasper is a familiar face to the Aggie Growth Hacks family. Greg is a partner in 5 Angry Elephant franchises in and around Aggieland, but he's also a partner with Stafford Barrett, who we visited with way back in season 4 when they won Aggie 100. If you haven't experienced Angry Elephant, you need to check it out. This politics-themed bar is where you go to agree, or at least agree to disagree, all over some craft beer and some gourmet hot dogs.
So pass it back and listen up to Greg as he shares some good bull.
Well, Ags, welcome back to another episode of Aggie Growth Hacks. We have got a first time ever on Aggie Growth Hacks. Greg Jasper joined us way back in season 4 with another company. So this is the first time we've had an entrepreneur that has multiple companies join us. So Greg, thank you for joining us again and allowing us to learn about this company and your entrepreneurial journey, and just continue to spotlight you and your team.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Appreciate you guys coming and doing this at one of our locations.
Well, we've been at the Angry Elephant in College Station all day recording acts. So for the last month, all the episodes that you've heard are because of Greg and his graciousness and his team at the Angry Elephant in College Station. So your other companies, real estate development, you're the student housing guy.
That's what they tell me. Yes.
But obviously, okay, so Angry Elephant's the bar. So students like to drink at bars, but I think that's the only connection I can have between the two of them.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So how did you get into being a partner at the Angry Elephant?
Well, we'll go way back when I was in school and used to work for a man named Gary Seaback, who used to own Hurricane Harry's and the Tap and Barracuda Bar and Salty Dog and various other ones. And so I worked with him through undergrad and grad school. And then when I got done, I was kind of like, what do I do? And they offered me a management job, and it paid nothing, but it had free tab. So I was in, I was like, yeah, absolutely.
I think they lost money on that.
Yeah, they did. They did for sure. It was an interesting experience, good lesson in management. I didn't do it that long, but kind of moved on past that and got into construction and real estate after that.
So that got you into this world. But what is the Angry Elephant? I mean, this is a franchise. It's this concept. How'd you get to know Chip?
Yeah, so the owner of the main and came up with the concept is a guy named Chip Ingram, who also went to A&M. He came and applied for a position when I was managing Hurricane Harry's. And back then we had pretty much all female bartenders, and he came in, wanted to be a bartender. And for some reason I decided to hire him as one of the male bartenders there, which was very rare to come in and just be a thing, but just maybe I saw something in him, maybe whatever. But so he came in, worked, we became instant friends. And then he moved to San Antonio later, a few years after that, and worked for different bars and restaurants. He's been in the hospitality business since he was 15. I mean, has never left, has always done something in the hospitality business. And so he called me in, I think it was late 2011, and said, hey, I'm opening my own bar. And I was like, okay, cool. What are you doing? He said, I'm doing the Angry Elephant. It's a politically themed neighborhood bar. And I said, that's the worst idea I've ever heard of. Like, I'm not sure why you're coming up. I'm not
like
sure
sushi
why.
Pizza.
Yeah, it seems like it seems like it's off-putting. Maybe you're getting rid of half your clientele before you even open. He's like, no, trust me. It's going to work. And sure enough, he was right. I mean, it did. He opened up right before the 2012 elections, and when you go to a sports bar and people reserve tables because of a big game or something like that. Well, we do presidential debates and election night and things like that. So it's really fun. win or lose, we still have whatever party or whatever team you're on, we're gonna have a great time.
You're either celebrator or condolences.
Yeah. Either way, you're probably gonna have a beer in your hand. So me and my two partners, we franchise it. Me and my two partners, Aaron and Brian Cohen. Brian went to A&M as well. When we decided that they also worked in the Setbacks family of bars after me. They're a little younger than I am, and for whatever reason, we decided we were going to open a bar, and we decided to do it in South College Station because I've lived in South College Station forever. Everyone always wanted a bar down here. Everyone always wanted an adult bar in College Station because we got plenty of college bars, plenty of those. But we needed an adult bar down in South College Station. And so we did it and just opened it up, and it was half the size of our original. And then we added on to that. Then we opened one in Bryan. Then we opened one in Magnolia. Now we have two under construction, one in Cypress and one in Little Elm right next to Frisco. Awesome. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. The College Station location has been open for 5.5 years. So what was my side gig is taking up a lot of my time now. So
love it. All right, let's talk through, opening this originally, right? So I know that you originally had some issues on this location here, right? And then you had another location that you guys, as you were opening, you had some issues on getting that even off the ground. So can you talk through a little bit about that?
So the biggest issues we had, when we first opened this one, it was too small, but it was the only space to do it. And so we ended up doing it. And someone tried to open a bar and they failed. And we came in, the landlord said, you guys can have the spot, but you got to pay off the subs that he had already spent. So we did it, and we went in and we built it. And then we decided to expand this, and we were building the one in Bryan at the same time. The place next door went out of business, so we decided, we're going to, we want it. So we took it, started doing all that. We're about to open the Bryan one. This one, we were pretty far into building it out, and then all of a sudden COVID hit. And if you, obviously everyone lived through it, and bars were enemy number one. Right. So our illustrious governor shut us down twice. That was a lot of fun trying to get our way through that. So that was really tough. I mean, we opened Bryan up in the middle of it. We got shut down a second time. It was difficult. I mean, it was really, really difficult. We were scrambling. Most people don't know this too, but the old Fox and Hound had a lease done on Fox and Hound, and we're going to do a big sports bar there, a different themed one. Yeah. And that died during COVID as well. So I don't want to tell you how much money we lost during COVID, but it was a lot, like almost to the point of about to throw it all in. Like, wow. It was that bad. And then we just kept, I use the term persistence all the time, especially with my kids. We were just persistent, and we stayed with it, and it's doing pretty well right now. So how has running the different bars at the much geographic different locations, how is that different than your real estate business? Because I mean, you operate in the real estate business all across the country, but it's a project base. It's like you come in, you put the package together, boom, it's done, you're out. Right. But now you've got to manage people all over the place. That's got to be difficult. Yeah, it is for someone else. I don't do it, luckily. I'm not any good at it. But yes, when we opened the Magnolia one back in December, it was very difficult getting a staff hired, getting them trained. It has taken a while rolling through things. But it wasn't any different than when we opened this, and we turned over our kitchen 3 times in a year, and had us do all over. And I mean, Aaron and Brian, they worked the kitchen, like I was bussing tables, like just, it is kind of difficult. It is certainly difficult, but we just try to keep hiring good people. And when we find good people, we take care of them. We, make sure that, just like with our real estate company, we have a great team, and with the bars, we put together a great team. It's difficult in any business hiring good talent, for sure. So we just, we try to find them and hire them and pay them as well as we can.
Right.
How exactly has, being part of Texas A&M and being a student at Texas A&M, what did they teach you there that has helped to manage the Angry Elephant here?
So I go back to, as you well know, and it probably still is, right? A&M's a meat grinder, right? They take in all these kids, and at first they don't really, I don't think they really care if you make it or not, right? They want the people who are still in there.
Man, that's why you have 500 people in intro to economics.
Yes. And when I first got to A&M, I was way more interested in the party and being in the bars. Maybe I was just always destined for it. But they politely asked me to leave, and I went to Blinn for a little bit, got my crap together, and got back in. So I think it comes back to that. I still use the term persistence. Like I said, that's probably my number one thing that I talk about is just it's being persistent about it. And so I feel like A&M creates these people that are very persistent and very able to roll your sleeves up and everything. When I was applying for grad school, I mean, my undergrad were terrible. I mean, they're terrible. And the professor that I was talking to, I was like, I don't even think I should apply. I'm not going to get in. And he's like, I'd rather have a 2.4 from A&M than a 3.4 from Stanford. Because I know you at least earned a 2.4,
right?
And some of these other schools, I don't trust their GPAs at all. I know what A&M students go through, and I think that, and then, the culture that's built in A&M just allows you to connect. I mean, yes, we talk about the Aggie, the Aggie network and all this kind of stuff. It's for real, and I see it in the student housing industry. I mean, I guarantee you go in the student housing industry, everyone wants to tell you what school they went to, and they'll tell you, but everyone knows who went to A&M. In the student housing industry because, well, we let them know,
right.
And so it's a for real. I mean, it's a for real deal. That culture is built from the moment you go to fish camp, till you're dead. And that's just the way we've always viewed it. I know Chip in San Antonio, he has the Bexar County A&M club, come out and watch football games there and things like that. So we love the Aggie network. We're always going to push it and everything. So.
And I think that the common bond is obviously we're all Aggies, and that means a whole heck of a lot. But also it's going through those common things and developing that persistence, that grit, to put it in entrepreneurial terms, that you just have to, it's not fun. You don't have to like it. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
And showing up, opening 2 bars in the middle of 2020, I mean, that take a tremendous amount of grit to be able to kind of power through that. And so is that something you and your leadership team kind of talk about, how to build that resiliency in your managers, in your staff?
Yeah, I don't know if we bring it up specifically like that, but it's you deal with a lot of issues when you own a bar, right? You're taking a regular business and you're throwing when you got a bar, the other you got a restaurant, right? And you got to put them together, and then you throw alcohol into the mix, and every now and then some people don't respond to it just as well as most people do. Right. So you have a lot of issues. So anyone that's going to work in this industry for any amount of time is going to be pretty tough-skinned anyway, pretty thick-skinned, and know how to deal. It's a great way to learn how to deal with people. I know I went through it earlier when I was more in the operations side of it and stuff like that. So. And a lot of our employees are A&M students, of course, in College Station and Bryan for sure. So what's been your biggest challenge when it comes to the past couple of years? I mean, obviously COVID, the 2020 was obviously very hard, but let's talk through a little bit about opening new bars, right? As you guys are opening more bars, what have been some of the challenges that you guys have faced with that? COVID was definitely probably number one challenge. I mean, I don't think anyone that was in this business or 90% of other businesses weren't affected by it. I mean, it was just something that was unprecedented. Hopefully we'll never go through it again. But we've learned some things from it. I mean, obviously, I'm not a huge fan of the government. And so whether it local, state, whatever, I mean, the state government's the one that shut us down. Right. Locals are ones enforcing it, The amount of red tape you have to go through now to open one of these, it keeps getting longer and longer every year, and it costs more and more money, whether that's through building code, whether that's through licensing, insurance, whatever. Yeah, whatever it is, it's just gotten more and more difficult. With the boom in construction in Texas the last couple of years, construction prices are still out the roof. We see that on our real estate side, and we see it the bars are haven't escaped that either. So, and then of course, financing has in the last year become almost impossible. It's been really, really tough. We're having to, basically bootstrap one of these that were open because no bank is financing bars and restaurants anymore unless you just have a very, very, very deep pockets. And so if you want a loan for, say, $1 million to open a new bar, which is what the one in Little Elm's going to cost us, then you better have $1 million in their bank before they'll give you that $1 million. So it's become very difficult on the financing side. Is probably my hardest challenge right now is getting those things done. So
your experience in real estate, while it's completely different, I mean, a lot of the projects you have are big projects, require financing. And so it's just using those networks, using your understanding of, hey, this is what it takes, but hey, this is a completely different industry. And that's not to say that Angry Elephant's a worse investment than that. It's different investment. And so you're accomplishing the capital spend or the capital stack differently.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've gone through this last one. The last two, one, we did get a bank to finance part of it. It took, 10, 12 banks probably before we had someone to say yes to one of them. And the other one we're raising in blocks, just through private equity, friends and family mostly.
Yeah.
And some investors. So, the people that are going to invest in those are a little, I mean, they're used to the risk and whatnot. So, right. But they're harder to find. I mean, I spent a lot of time on it.
Yeah. But as an entrepreneur, that's really cool, because probably raising equity is a lot what you do with maybe some of the other projects. So that's a skill set that not every bar owner has, to be able to have someone like you that understands, okay, this is a cap table.
Well, you would think I'd be doing better at it then, but no, it's just, I go back to basically, and I don't care what your business is, everything's difficult, and everything the last 3 years has been ridiculously difficult. And anyone who's still in business, I applaud them, because it's just day after day of issues coming up, and it's like night and day. Well, I wouldn't say things weren't difficult beforehand, but you could be done at the end of the day, and now everything is difficult. It doesn't even matter what it is.
And
it's
then
difficult.
you open the doors to the public.
Yes. Yeah. And once we go through all that difficultness, then we open it up to a bunch of drunks. So, it is what it is.
We lovingly say that.
Lovingly.
Yeah.
Lovingly.
Well, let's dig in a little bit more, because I'm really fascinated not only about this concept. I mean, I think it's really unique to have a politically themed bar. I think it's genius to have that right during the election season. But let's talk about the food for a second. So y'all treated us to a wonderful lunch. What did you have for lunch?
I don't know. It's a kung fu something or another.
Yeah, the Hong Kong Fooey hot dog. So we have most of our, we have a wide ranging menu, from wings, salads, burgers, chicken sandwiches, all kinds of stuff. But our gourmet hot dogs are the best. They're Eisenberg hot dogs from Chicago. We have, I think there's 16 on the menu right now. The menu changes here and there, and they're all usually named after politically themed things. But one of the hot dogs is called the Hong Kong Fooey, and which
was amazing, by the way.
Yeah, I was telling, people kept telling me to try it, and I didn't. Like, for a year we had it on the menu, and I didn't try it, and then I finally tried it. And was like, oh my gosh, that's the best hot dog we have on the menu, And it's a tempura battered hot dog with peanut butter and sweet Thai chili on it, which sounds terrible, but it works.
Amazing.
So
highly recommend it.
Yeah.
So as you're blending the kitchen with the bar atmosphere, I mean, obviously that's maybe, I think it's maybe a little unique, because maybe in my mind I'm thinking of the chicken and all the other student bars around here that are basically just alcohol. But you've got to manage bar staff, you got to manage the kitchen staff, and kind of blend that together with your operations team. Is that do you see that as more difficult? Is this is the way we do business?
We're not like, when you go to like a Gringos or a Lupe Tortillas or something like that, man, those restaurants those are restaurants. They do $4 to $5 million a year usually. I mean, our locations are $1.5 million to $2 million. So it doesn't allow you the same scale you can't hire a GM for $150,000 at each of your locations. You just can't. So we've tried a lot of different things, and now we finally have, someone who's a general manager over all of them. And then we have, a manager at each one. That's and that model seems to be working for us right now. And then the kitchen is kind of separate. It's managed separate. So yes, our general manager helps with the kitchen stuff, but really the people that manage the bars are really just bar managers for the most part. So we've been trying to get them more involved with the kitchen just so they know it and learn it. Obviously, they have to know the menu and things like that, but but really learning, how things are made and things like that too.
So if I heard right, like Angry Elephant is a franchise. Is that correct?
So we franchise it from Chip. Okay. Now we're the only franchisees because he's not really ready. We're not ready and to help him either to help grow this yet. Now, in a year, 2 years, hopefully we have the infrastructure in place where other people who want to do franchises can come in and do them.
But you're also building out the franchise systems. I mean, because obviously you're successful with the number of locations you have, and you got to have consistency in your operations across that. So you're helping maybe build some of that stuff out.
Yeah, we are. I mean, all the build books for the kitchen and drink menus and all that kind of stuff. And it's constantly changing. Like we're always trying to introduce new things to keep, things fresh. I mean, we really love, we love everyone coming in, but each one has this core group of regulars that come in, quite a bit. So we like to get them, new drinks, new beers, new food items, things like that on a regular basis.
So how do you go out and select locations? Because finding the demographics of an area that would support a politically themed bar is really unique.
Yeah, it's a little different for sure. I mean, we're still going to go by the regular demographics that most people are going to do: household income, age, things like that. I mean, we have a fairly, I call it that most of our clientele is kind of gray collar, like we have a lot of, first responders, teachers, things like that are our core group that come in here. And then we have a lot of small business owners, obviously, as well. I mean, I meet a lot of them here locally. And even when I'm down in Magnolia, it's kind of a similar demographic. Now, I take that then and overlay it with a voting map. And we're obviously trying to get it as red on the map as we can. So that being said, Magnolia is probably in the reddest area in the country, and it's still not doing as well as Conversation and Bryan. So maybe that part I'm wrong on. I don't know. We'll see going forward.
You need a little contention.
Yes, you gotta have a little fight in there, I guess. I mean, it was really designed. I mean, that was why Chip had designed it. Like, hey, why didn't everyone meet at the bar and let's discuss some political issues? You don't have to all be on one side or the other. Like come in, have a good time. No one's gonna kick you out. I mean, I'm a capitalist. I'll take money from anyone, right?
So any plans for an Austin location?
So we actually have talked to a guy who wants to do one in the North Park, Cedar Park, Round Rock, that kind of stuff. We're not quite ready for him yet, so we'll maybe circle up with him back in a little bit. I don't think I'd go in like downtown or anything. So we stay away from the big metros. We like the suburbs. I mean, obviously. So they're neighborhood bars, so you want to plunk them down in the middle of as many houses as you can.
Right.
And to be quite honest, most of our clientele is probably fairly apolitical. You don't just have all kind of hardcores coming in.
This is not a Stafford's bar, but come in after a hard day at the hill.
Right.
Come in.
Right.
Yeah. So Greg, where do you see the Angry Elephant in 10 years? What's your BHAG for this concept?
I always tell people that I want 100 locations. I want 100 locations. I have no idea how we're going to get there, but we'll just take one at a time for right now.
Obviously, outside of Texas. Are they outside of Texas now?
Yeah, so we actually had a call with a group that's out of Tennessee that's thinking about, doing a couple, and we would probably come in and partner with them and try to get, they'd be more money versus operations part. We actually almost did one in Tennessee. We were really close, and then decided let's concentrate on the on what's going on here. So let's build up Texas quite a bit more before we get out. But if the opportunity is there, we'll look at anything, really. So
that's pretty awesome, and I love how you're going to expand out from your home base right here, and how it is residential locations, families, close to families and all that kind of stuff. All right, we're heading into the lightning round here, and you've been through it before, but we have to answer this in 30 seconds or less. All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'll try. We'll see.
We'll try.
I talk a lot, obviously.
That's good. All right, so first question here is, since we're Aggie Growth Hacks, right, what is your favorite personal hack? This could be a book, a podcast, anything goes here for a personal hack.
So this is actually, I think, the most difficult question on the thing. And I could go a few different ways with it. I like listening. The only podcast I actually really listen to are history podcasts, because when I'm listening to them, I kind of just want to check out, and not do business stuff and not think about business. Because as you guys know, you have to take a break from it. You have to force yourself to take a break. And listening to those help me kind of unplug. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I'm listening to it, like maybe doing yard work or something. And before I've known it, I haven't listened to the last 15 minutes because I'm thinking about work, right? So,
yep. So welcome to entrepreneurship.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's always on the brain, always. But I try to do that as best I can to just, to kind of just unplug a little bit. So,
what about your favorite business hack? And I think last time it was something with your email.
A couple of partners in Stafford Barrett, all our hacks were emails, but they were all three different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how we did it.
So no email hacks.
No. So one of the things I do is a program called Strategic Coach, and it's a program that started by a guy named Dan Sullivan 40 years ago, and it's for entrepreneurs, and it's an investment, but I feel like it's completely worth it, and it has really shaped my mind. And I've been doing it for about 18 months, and it's really helped shape my mind on how to build a company. And how to, I was like most entrepreneurs, right? At first, I was doing everything. Didn't matter what it was. I was doing it, okay? And I was bad at most of them. When you really look in the mirror, I thought I was good at them, right? But someday when I woke up and said, of course, people probably told me, about it, usually my wife, said, there's certain things you're not good at. And I didn't want to believe it at first. And then I finally believed it. And so I started obviously, delegating more and getting, the people who were meant to get your accountant to do accounting, get your marketing people to do marketing. Don't do the flyers yourself. What are you doing? I'm terrible at it. So you started doing that. And then when Strategic Coach came around, there's a book. One of the books they have is called Who Not How. And that book, if you haven't read Who Not How, I mean, it's by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. I mean, Dan is so into Who Not How that he had someone else write his own book. Because he knew he wasn't the best author, so he had someone else write his book. He obviously contributed, but that's the belief in it. Of you got to find your few core things you do, and that's it. And then you have, whether you're hiring it out or hiring someone to do it or have a partner or whatever, you got to do it. And so I've really bought into a lot of the Strategic Coach and a lot of that. Part. I was already kind of living that. I didn't know what it was. I mean, other than calling it delegating, right? But really, that opened it up. So there's people that just there's people out there that do it way better than you do. Whether it's whatever it is, they're gonna you're only good at a couple things, really, and so the rest you need to have someone else do.
Love that. Okay, so what is the best advice that you've ever been given in 94 points to tell us how you actually implemented it?
Well, I mean, other than that I'm bad at everything, for the most part, I will always just go back to persistence and if you're just a one-track mind that you're going to get it done and you're going to find a way to get it done. If you really believe it, then you're probably going to need to find someone else to do it or multiple people to help you along the way. But just being persistent. I mean, I got out of a company probably one step too early. And honestly, if I'd have stayed in, I wouldn't be up here. I'd probably be on a beach somewhere, and so I learned from that and said, hey, I'm going to try to stick with things, as long as I can. If something's not working, it's not working. That's fine. Right. But I think if you truly believe in something and you got a team built around you to do it, then you can get there. Trust me. Like I said, we're going through 3 years of some of the hardest stuff, and I think there's more ahead of us, more pain. Yeah. And yet you just keep grinding away.
So let me take a little divergent for a second. So how do you know when something's not working, it's not working, and to be a realist and say, okay, this isn't working. But as an entrepreneur, you can't do that. I mean, because it's so hard. Yeah. That if you say, no, this is too hard. No, it is the right thing. It is the right path. It's just hard. You got to suck it up, Buttercup. Yeah. How do you know the difference between those two?
Yeah, that's probably one of the hardest things, right? You don't want to give up on yourself. You don't want to give up on other people. You got someone that's worked for you for a couple of years, but they're not doing what they need to do. They're not the right person for that job. You have to make that decision. It's a tough call, and luckily I mean, I haven't had to fire anyone personally myself in a while. And I'm not good at it. I'm terrible. By the end of it, they'd probably have a raise if I was, like. I'll let some of my other partners do that part. Right. They're better at it.
Let somebody else do it.
Yeah, they're better.
Who, not how, right?
Yeah, who, not how.
Well, Greg, thanks for coming on to Aggie Growth Hacks. Not only that, but also to be our sponsor for the past 4 episodes. We really, really appreciate it. So how can the Aggie Growth Hack community get in touch with you and support you moving forward?
Okay, well, obviously I'm on LinkedIn. I've been tagged on all that stuff. You can always catch me on there. The website for our bar, which hopefully by the time this comes out, is the new website is up, and it's called theangryelephantbar.com, and that'll have it'll have all new merchandise, the full e-commerce site that anyone, no matter where you live, can get some of our merchandise. We sell a decent amount of it. So,
well, thanks again for joining us, Ags. If you're in Bryan, College Station, any of the places that Greg mentioned, make sure you stop by, get the Hong Kong Fooey hot dog. But Greg, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, how about that, Ags? That is what you call some good bull right there. I know that I took a lot of things away from talking with Greg, and I have the opportunity. I know Greg and have known him for a really long time. However, this is a whole different level, and I know that I took a ton of things away from him. What was your biggest takeaways there, Greg?
Well, I was struck by just the fact that here's a successful entrepreneur that is successful not only in one, but in multiple businesses. And we've had guests on that have owned more than one businesses. Heck, we've had guests on that have been won Aggie 100 in more than just one business. But really, to be able to really kind of look into his brain. And so how do you do that successfully? How do you empower your people to take care of your clients day in, day out when you obviously can't be there? And it all came down to systems. And he applied that not only to his Stafford Barrett team, but also the Angry Elephant team as they were growing out their systems, and said potentially these systems that he's using, that he's developing with Chip, the founder, it can be used in franchising this concept around the nation, around the world. And to be able to say and to think, my gosh, something that he developed here in Bryan College Station can have an impact and be used the very same way when they open up Angry Elephant in Boston. That's powerful. So powerful.
Yeah.
What about you? What did you take away?
Well, mine kind of dovetails right into that. My biggest takeaway was his BHAG, right? His big, hairy, audacious goal is to open up 100 locations, right? So how do you go from one location to 100 locations? Well, one, that is the systems, right, that you're talking about. But my goodness, you've got to have a hell of a vision, right, to say, we're going to open up 100 of these, right? And it's not something that is easy by any means whatsoever. And especially with the startup type, hey, we're developing the menu. We're doing all of this stuff, right? And by the way, a huge shout out to the
Hong Kong Fooey.
Hong Kong Fooey. If you're at the Angry Elephant, you've got to go get that. Greg told me, he's like, this is the best thing on the menu. And he was not wrong whatsoever. So anyways, his BHAG, the 100 locations was my biggest takeaway that I took from that.
That was such a great and fun time. Ags, we hope that you enjoyed this episode as much as we had making it, recording it. And if you're not connected with Greg and you want to talk entrepreneurship, you want to talk systems, you want to talk about what it takes to be successful in multiple businesses, make sure you do that. Make sure that you check out the Angry Elephant. They've got some pretty cool social media accounts that are out there. And while you're on social media, connect with Aggie Growth Hacks, connect with Chris, connect with me, and make sure that you give us a like on this podcast, whatever podcast app you're listening to. Give us a good old-fashioned gig 'em, a thumbs up, and leave a review so that we can get Aggie Growth Hacks out to more people.
We also want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this episode and the prior 3 episodes, the Angry Elephant Bar and Grill. These 4 episodes were recorded on site at the Angry Elephant, and they were such great hosts. Please be sure to visit the nearest one near you and tell them that Greg and Chris sent you. Well, Ags, join us next time when we connect with another great Aggie entrepreneur and learn how they hack their growth. Until then, I'm Chris Hunter.
And I'm Greg Martin. Thanks and gig 'em.